Guys, let's get another one. Yo, we had a really good live, like a late night live last night. That shit was fire. I think I went live at like 3 a.m. But that shit was fire. I'm glad I did. Um, you guys know what to do. Real quick, I'm Loyal Link Lenny. Those of you that are gonna watch on replay, make sure you tap that like button. And like always, guys, let's have a fun live. Hopefully, we can get a couple good people in here. I know we're gonna have some gang stalkers come in the chat, so that's gonna I've already I've already prepared for that. You got to do that. So what we're gonna be talking about in this video is I'm mainly making this for all my TIs, right? All God's chosen ones, all God's children. And what I mean by God's children is those following in his footsteps to the best of their ability, right? Like you're trying not to sin. You have a relationship with the Most High. You pray every day. You talk to him. You do your best not to sin. You repent. So if that's you, I'm talking to you in this video. Most likely you're being targeted even if you don't know it. So most TIs, we talked about this last night, most TIs don't even know they're TIs. Most Christians aren't even aware that they're being persecuted. They're being attacked behind the scenes by secret societies, by cults, by covens. So guys, like, there's only one way to defeat this, and it's God. It's the Most High. So the only way to truly defeat this is allowing the Most High to work on you to the point where you're so rooted in truth, right? That none of these attacks have any effect on you. So that's how you beat being getting targeted, right? Because if you know anything, right, it says know the devices of your enemy, right? So this is why it's very good to, do research about the occult. So if you've researched, Albert Pike, if you've researched, Freemasonry and all this kind of stuff, it does say in the Bible to know the devices of the enemy. Not so you can do it, not so you can believe in it, but so you can prepare yourself and so you can understand the enemy's mindset, right? So I would really suggest you guys do that if you're being targeted. I would really suggest you look into what the enemy believes in, right? So if you're a TI, you're most likely being targeted by secret societies, cults, covens. So you need to find out what they believe in, like what their mindset is. That's what I had to do when I started getting targeted. How you doing, guys? Make sure you tap that like button. It's your boy Loyal Link Lenny. Ask any questions, I'll answer them. If I accidentally miss your comment, I'm sorry. But if it's like a hate and ask comment, I'm gonna ignore it. Because I don't got no time for that. I don't got time for no negative energy and no fucking trolling ass hater. So, anyways, guys, what we're gonna be talking about is how to defeat your attackers. If you're being attacked by witchcraft, you're being attacked by secret societies, cults, covens, the only way to really defeat the witchcraft and to defeat all that shit like the dark magic and the spiritual side of the attacks is to grow closer to the Most High, is to grow so close to God that all those attacks don't even hit you. Because when you're close to God, all those attacks aren't going to hit you. They're going to either bounce off you or they're going to return. They're going to just get destroyed. So they're not even going to reach you. And that's the point I'm at with anytime I get attacked by witchcraft, it doesn't work. So I know for a fact I've been targeted by very, very high level witches, very high level practitioners. They've tried to do death magic on me. They've put shit in my drink and my food at restaurants, like crazy shit I've dealt with, right? I've dealt with whole covens of witches, cults, secret societies trying to unalive me, but failed. So if you're anything like myself and you've endured that, like if you've gone through attacks by hundreds of people, like you've literally got attacked by a whole cult or a whole secret society, and you've defeated them, you're a target. You're a target. You're 100% a target for the kingdom of darkness. And they know that. So they know, and that's why they're trying right now to distract us so much. they're trying to pull us as far away from God as possible. And how they're doing that is just from everything all around us. They're trying to, we have bots getting sent in. If you create content, you have bots getting sent in to try to trigger people, to try to get them upset, right? To try to bring you down. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to bring you down when you're vibrating very high, right? When you're, like what I'm at, like I'm very like high vibrational, connected to the most high, like in a good mood. So when the enemy sees that, they try to bring you down because they know they can't attack you when you're like that. So when you're like exuding joy, how you doing, Alistair? When you're exuding joy and when you're exuding peace and like when you're in a good mood and you're on a high vibration, the enemy gets sent in to try to tear you down. And now, how did they do that? Well, they do things like they troll you, they rage bait you. That's all demonic. So that's all demonic. And I know we've all done it before. I've done it before, but until I learned the spiritual, aspects behind what that really is, it's trying to bring people down. It's trying to tear people down, right? Even though I didn't do it for that, back in the day, I used to think like trolling was, just harmless. I used to think it was because I had my heart posture was, it was just a joke, like I wasn't trying to bother anybody. I wasn't trying to hurt nobody. I was just cracking a joke because I thought it was funny, right? But all that matters is it hurting the other person? Like, are you making the other person upset? So, and that's what it does. That's why it's demonic, right? So, rage baiting people and trying to provoke and trying to instigate and tear others down is 100% demonic. So, guys, make sure you tap that like button. I seen 12 people in the chat, only 2 likes. So, I see we got 2 supporters and a couple haters in here. But, guys, I'm trying to give you the sauce of how to defeat this whole TI situation, man. And I told you the first thing, if you're getting targeted by secret societies, if you're getting targeted by witches, cults, covens, then the best thing you should do, all right, shout out the Russian, man. Shout out the Russian. The best thing you can do is have a relationship with God. That's the number one thing, right? Now, the next thing would be to work on yourself. Work on yourself to the point where like you develop the mental fortitude and you develop like basically you become so grounded in yourself. You know who you are, you know your flaws, and you're actively working on them. A lot of us, like myself, we turn our flaws into strengths. We turn our flaws and our weaknesses into testimony, right? So it's now used as a double-edged sword. Because what the devil and the enemy likes to do is he likes to use our past against us. So anything that God has forgiven you for, like let's say you repented and the Most High God forgave you for your sins, what the devil will do is he'll send people around you that will try to make you feel guilty or use your past against you that they can't use. Because all that stuff that they're using is null and void. Because God already forgave you for it. So that's a trap right there we need to be very careful of. But guys, working on yourself is the number one. That's the second best thing you can do. Working on yourself, you need to understand that any type of gateways, right? I'm trying to figure out the word of how to any type of like ways you leave open, right? Like any type of vulnerabilities you have, whether it's trauma, whether it's, something you feel ashamed of, anything like that, the enemy is going to look for in order to attack it. That's going to leave it's going to leave portals open for entities, for demonic entities, for witchcraft and all that shit to be able to attack. So, knowing that, you can be like, okay, I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna make sure that I don't have any any gateways, right? I'm trying to think if that's even the right word to use. It makes sense, right? So any gateways for the enemy to attack. So what you should be doing is you should be going somewhere where you're, away from everybody, away from the noise. Because I talk about this a lot, guys. We have a society right now where The people that are actually working on themselves, so the people that are the most intelligent, that are the most self-aware, that actually do the work on themselves, that actually heal from their trauma, and they don't go around taking their shit out on other people. They isolate and they go and they work on themselves. Those are the people that get made fun of in society, because most of society, the majority, doesn't do that. The majority of society is constantly running away from their problems. They're constantly chasing the noise. So they're chasing the noise, they're chasing pleasure, they're chasing the things of their flesh. And how they do that is they're never at home, they're never isolated, they're never in solitude. They always have to be around somebody. That's what I call running from your problems, because they always have to be around another person. They always have to be around somebody that so they don't have to focus on themselves. And those type of people are a liability to have around you, especially if you're like me and you've worked on yourself. So, because I've worked on myself, because I'm aware of who I am, most people I get around, they haven't done that. They haven't done the work that I've done on myself, so I can't be around them because they're going to attack me, right? Because if you've worked on yourself, if you've healed your trauma, if you've sat with yourself long enough to understand who you are, you're going to become a mirror and a trigger for everyone else around you. So everyone else you come around is going to not even know why they have an issue with you, but you're going to be showing them everything that they didn't work on. So if you healed yourself, you know yourself, you sat with yourself, you're very confident, you know who you are, you're not looking for validation, you're not looking for anybody to tell you who you are, which most people in society, that's how they operate. They need to go up to their friends, they need to go up to their parents, they need to go up to others and say, "Who am I? Is this how I am? Is this who I am?" So somebody is always controlling them. Somebody is always manipulating them, and those type of people are dangerous for you to be around if you've done the work on yourself. So if you've put the work on yourself, and I know nobody wants to hear this, I didn't want to hear it, most likely you're going to be alone. That's just the price. That's the price of being self aware, of doing the work on yourself and healing, and literally looking at 100% of who you are and accepting it, and walking in truth and walking in authenticity. You're most likely going to be alone, because the majority of society doesn't do that. They attack people who do that. They call people weird. They call people everything that they are. That's why we have a problem in society right now that's called projecting. And it's so obvious if you're self aware. It's so obvious if you've put the work on yourself. You can tell. That's why you don't take it personal. If some random stranger comes in my live right now and starts making a detailed accusation, it's not going to bother me, because number one, I know that person doesn't know me. So I know where's that person getting that from? They're getting that from themselves. That's where they're getting that information from. It's projecting. So because I know that, there's no need to take it personal. I just know that everybody's at a different level, and that person isn't on the level I'm on. It doesn't mean one day they can't be, though. So that's why intelligent people, right, don't feel the need to argue, because they know it does not benefit anybody. There's no need to argue with someone who's not on the same level, right? Someone who's healed, someone who's looked at themselves, and then the person that you're arguing who hasn't. The person that's trying to argue with you doesn't know themselves, is running from their problems. They're chasing the noise. They're looking for other people around to surround themselves with, to basically justify the way they live, which is most people. They want friends around them that are going to justify their toxic behaviors, that are going to justify their bad addictions. And that's what they do. They form groups like that. And then these groups are what becomes the normal social hierarchies in life. So when you go to different places, you have these same groups filled with people who refuse to work on themselves, and they all justify each other's bad behaviors. They all become a group of 10, 20, 30 people that all haven't sat with themselves alone for longer than 5 minutes, but they all justify each other's bad behavior. Like they see their friend do something completely toxic. They see their friend cheat on somebody, do something wrong, and they say, no, they didn't do anything wrong, or they made a mistake. They'll defend that person, right? Because they do the same thing. They'll defend that person because they want that person to defend their bad behavior. So they'll lie, they'll corroborate. But when it comes time to someone else that doesn't do that, so if you're one of those ones where you don't roam in a pack, you don't need a bunch of people around you to validate you. You validate yourself. You know who you are. You know what's right. You know what's wrong, right? They're going to attack you because you're a threat. Because you don't have the same weaknesses they have, they automatically perceive you as a threat, even though you're trying to help them. You could be trying to help them, you could be trying to get them to do what you did, and they'll attack you for it. They'll target you for it. They'll lie about you. They'll get all their friends to repeat the same lie. They'll go tell 20 of their friends, they'll be like, hey, repeat this lie. Let's go ruin this person's reputation. Just because you showed them that they haven't worked on themselves. You showed them by your existence that they haven't healed. They haven't looked in the mirror for years, and they're running from themselves. They're running from their problems. They're weak as fuck, disgusting human beings. Yeah, man. And I always say weakness is a choice because they choose to be weak. If you roam in a pack of narcissistic, toxic individuals, and they only roam in this pack because everyone justifies each other's bad behavior, like I was saying. So every single one of them are toxic, every single one of them are liars, every single one of them are cheaters, and that's why they all hang out. That's why they became friends. Because there's power in numbers, or that's what they believe. So they go find a bunch of shitty people like themselves. So then when a good person comes around, when an honest person comes around, when someone who is truly what they claim to be, they attack that person. They claim that me or you is actually them. They project. And that's what being the scapegoat. That's what being the scapegoat really means, because you've got a bunch of people in society that are a part of these social hierarchies that are portraying integrity, that are portraying a upstanding, good, down to earth civilian, but they're really the exact opposite. And if you stayed around them long enough, you would see that. The only way you wouldn't see it is if you're doing the same shit they're doing. And the fact that you're not seeing it is because you don't want to see it. Most people don't want the truth. They don't want to know that they're toxic. They don't want to know that they're a bad person. Most bad people, they know they're bad, but they're in denial. They know they're a bad person. That's why bullies and shit. Have you ever seen a bully get called out for being a bully? They start playing the victim. They're in denial. They're like, oh no, I'm a good person. They'll literally tell you they're a good person, and then you could catch them like a day later bullying someone, making fun of someone because of the clothes they're wearing, laughing at someone, mocking someone. They'll do that an hour later, not even realizing the contradiction. And if you bring that up, they'll attack you. They'll gaslight you. They'll deflect. They'll make, no, you know what they'll do? They'll justify their bad behavior. They'll say, well, oh, I was only making fun of that person because they deserved it. I was only making fun of that person's clothes or making fun of that person because they're a bad person. That's what they'll say. Because they're trying to convince everyone and themselves that they're a good person. So now they're going to go find other people just like them. They're going to go find other bad people, which is, sorry to say, it's the majority. They're going to go find other narcissists, other psychopaths, and they're going to form a little social hierarchy, which usually, sad to say, takes over most environments. And anybody that is a threat to exposing, anybody that can see them, anybody that can see through them, they're going to push out of the environment. Just like they pushed out Jesus. When Jesus came along and he started calling out the Pharisees, he started calling out the false prophets and the false teachings. What did they do? They wanted to push him out, right? They called him a demon. They wanted to kill him. And a lot of us, we don't even try to expose people. We just naturally expose people by our existence. We literally expose people by just existing in the same environment. I do it all the time. Like I come in an environment, I don't even talk to anybody. I mind my own business, but because of my authenticity, because of my integrity, because of everything I exude, everyone starts to notice that damn, Lenny is exactly what this person right here claims to be. So now they see the people that are the supposed leaders in the social hierarchy, they start to see them little by little for the frauds they really are. They start to see them for frauds. They start to see, wait a minute, if that's what an authentic person looks like, right? And usually these narcissists and usually these people that are trying to portray that they're good, that they're saints, like they never do anything wrong, right? Like if you ask these people, they'll tell you they've never done anything wrong. No, they'll tell you they don't sin anymore. Huge red flag. If someone tells you that, get away from them. Get away from them. If someone tells you they don't sin anymore, they're lying. You know, because we're all sinners. So basically, guys, this is what you need to understand. These people that portray good people, they portray saints, they're not going to want you in the environment that they're in because they got everybody fooled for the most part. And a lot of the times they have most people fooled because of their social position, because of their, position in society. They might be a CEO or they might be somebody with a lot of money, with a lot of connections, with a lot of resources, and they might be using that power to manipulate everybody in the environment, right? They're giving people jobs, they're doing charity events, right? They do all these things. Narcissists do these things, right? Narcissists will buy you gifts, will give you money, will do all these things just to try to convince you they're a good person. They don't give you gifts and give you money because they like you. They do it to control you. So anything a narcissist does for you, I just want to let you know it's not because they're a good person. They're not giving you money or helping you because they like you. They're doing it because they want to control you. They're doing it because they want to convince you that they care about you, that they're a good person, right? So these same people, which if you've seen like the studies that were shown of most CEOs being a psychopath, or most of the people in high positions in society are narcissists and psychopaths, there's a reason for that. Because that's how they operate. They don't care, they don't have empathy, they don't care who they hurt, they don't care who they manipulate, and anybody that actually does care. So because I really care about people, the narcissist will see that and they'll try to push me out. They'll try to claim that I'm them. And because everybody else is benefiting off that person, right? Because the narcissist, or I should say demon, shouldn't even say narcissist, the demon is taking care of everybody and giving that person benefits and incentives and all this other shit. So obviously most people, because they're in love with the things of their flesh, right? They're in love with material things, they're in love with money. They'll attack me and they'll just take the person's side that benefits them the most. And most people are going to do that. Most people don't go with who's right, they go with who they like. So if there's two of you, right? There's you who's in the right, who didn't do anything wrong, is just you're minding your business and you're saying, "Hey, listen, this guy right here is a piece of shit." Like you're trying to tell everybody what this person is about. Everyone, and then the other person you're trying to tell people the truth is the CEO, has a bunch of money. Everybody thinks he's a saint. Everybody thinks the person is a saint. Yeah, they're naturally gonna agree with that person and they're gonna go against you. Because there's no benefit in not. And that was one of the hardest things I had to basically face growing up. Because no matter how many times I would try to convince people, I'm like, yo, I would show them the facts. I would show them the proof. I would be like, yo, that guy's a scumbag. This person's manipulating you. This person's doing this to you. And nobody wanted to hear it. It would always make me turn into the bad guy at the end. So I finally learned, I stopped. God finally taught me for the last time after many, many lessons. It's not my job to expose anybody. It's not my job to basically convince other people um of who they really are, right? Because that's God's job. God is going to expose these people that society thinks is a saint, that everybody believes, is like the best person around and shit. Yo, these are like the worst people. Usually if someone's perfect, right? Like if you ask a person and they say they never make mistakes, or they don't sin anymore, and they just seem too perfect, usually those are the worst people. All they do is try to steal your attention. Right. And that's these gang stalkers, guys. That's another thing. How you defeat them is ignoring them. They can't stand that. A narcissist cannot stand when you ignore them. That's why when I ignore them, so when they're stalking me and they're doing street theater and they're doing all their tactics, I ignore them and they start to freak out. They start to literally glitch out. I see it all the time. They start making a whole bunch of fake profiles. They start sending a bunch of messages, trying to like trigger me, trying to do all this crazy shit. But that's how I know I defeated them, because they're getting desperate. They're realizing that nothing's working. They're like, damn, I can't get Lenny's attention. Damn, Lenny's not responding to me. He doesn't care. Shit. So the second thing is how you defeat them, or I don't know if that's the second. It's probably like the third or the fourth. But becoming indifferent. So if you're a TI, they don't care if you're mad at them. They don't mind that. They like anger because that means you're emotionally invested. These people, the number one thing they fear is when you become indifferent. That's where you need to get. That's where I'm at right now. I'm completely indifferent. If you don't know what indifferent means, it means you are not emotionally attached to these people in any way. You just don't care. You just don't care about their existence. You don't care what they're doing. You're not mad at them. You're not angry. You don't hate them. Maybe the worst I would say is you get annoyed sometimes. Sometimes I get annoyed, but then I just forget about it, just like this, right? Because I see how desperate they are for my attention. When I see that, it shows me that I have the power. If someone is coming to you and they're all coming to you and you have hundreds or thousands of people trying to get your attention, you hold the power because they need your reaction. You don't need their reaction. You don't need none of them. Listen, if you're a TI, you've always had the power. You've always had it. And they don't want you to know that. They need your existence. You don't need their existence. If you're anything like myself, you don't give a fuck about none of them. You don't want anything to do with any of them. Honestly, I say it all the time. If they could leave me alone, if they walked up to me and they were serious about it and they said, hey, listen, I'll promise you we'll leave you all alone and we'll forget you exist, I would, yes. How do I sign up? What do I got to do to make you all forget I exist? Just because that's all they try to do. They just try to bother me. They're just really, really obsessed with, with me. That's why they talk about us every day. Guys, I just made a video today of basically how they try to call us losers, right? So how these gang stalkers, these secret society members try to tell everybody that we're losers, yet they talk about us every day. Yet they're obsessed with us. It's a contradiction. Because if we were truly losers, they wouldn't be talking about us every day. They wouldn't be stalking us. They wouldn't be obsessed with us. That means we're winners. If thousands and thousands of people are so fixated on you, that means you're a winner. I don't care what you say. That means you're valuable enough to attract the attention from thousands of strangers. That means there's something powerful inside of you. to make strangers become obsessed with you, people I don't even know, coming from different states, from different countries, just to come and see who I am. Yeah, man. These people are so obsessed with my life, right? That they're willing to do anything just to get around my vicinity. They try to mirror me, so they copy me. That doesn't work. They try to trigger me, they try to make me upset, but that doesn't work because I don't care about them, right? I'm not invested in, I'm indifferent to all of them, even the ones I know. So that wouldn't work. And now they're in a basically they're backed up against a wall because they know they lost. They know I truly defeated the whole targeting shit. The whole targeted individual shit. I've already had it defeated. I've already beat it. Now are they still there? Yeah, but I beat it. I've defeated them. They no longer have any type of power over me, and anything they do fails. So everything they do now is failure. Fuck. So yeah, guys, we've been on here for 31 minutes. So I'm probably gonna end this live. I just wanted to come on here because I'm staying consistent. But guys, you know what's going on. Everything I dropped in this video, guys, it's facts. You know, if you're a targeted individual, then you know what I'm talking about. And if you're getting targeted and you haven't spiritually awakened yet, you haven't woken up to what's going on, you know, I pray you actually don't. I pray that everybody gets to continue to live in bliss and ignorance because you know what? Shit, I wish I could do that, right? But once you spiritually awaken, you can never go back. Once you awaken up to the truth, and you know what's really going on out here, you become a bigger target. So that's when they really come for you. That's when they really come and they try to get you to unalive yourself. They do everything in their power. These people make your life as hard as possible. Everything you try to do, they put up roadblock after roadblock. They sabotage you from working. They sabotage you from being able to feed yourself, from being able to pay rent. And they do all these things hoping you unalive yourself. But if you're like me and you're a warrior, you would never do that. You know? Because you don't need everything they have. They need to be around people. They need to be accepted, to be validated. We don't need none of that. All we need is the Most High God. That's it. This is why God has been training us, and everything we've went through is for a reason. Because you can take everything from me right now and it wouldn't matter. You could take my house, my money. I would get it all back. I would survive. You could throw me in any hood, any bad environment, I would survive. You know, because I've had to do it my entire life. So this is what they're basically realizing, that nothing they do against us is ever going to work because they can't handle 1% of the shit we've handled in life. That's a fact. These people hate my strength. They hate it. They hate the fact that there's 1,000 of them, yet their plan against you failed. They hate the fact that there's a whole cult of witches doing witchcraft on you and it's not working. They hate that. Trust and believe it. But there's nothing they can do. No weapon formed against you will prosper, guys. And that's the last thing I'm going to say. All right, guys. I love you. If you're watching on replay, make sure you tap that like button. It's your boy, Loyal Link Lenny. And I'm out of here. Peace.